Because some madman blown here over the sea thought he was somewhere he was not and called us by a false name, they call us still by the false name and think of us as one. But we were many stretched across this land.
Apache,
Ute,
Cayuse, Arapaho,
Modoc,
Delaware,
Tlingit,
Eskimo,
Miwok, Maidu,
Crow, Cheyenne,
Comanche, Paiute,
Zuni,
Hitchiti,
Yuki.
Many
Goose,
tribes and many ways of life,
Cherokee,
many visions. Alike, perhaps, in the way in which we lived in harmony with all that was around us. Conquering the wilderness, the white man said. Why did he feel this wilderness, this land from which he drew life, was something to be conquered? We have never understood. This land was our friend, our mother. Only a very troubled man who understood nothing of life, the circle, and where he had come from would think of conquering his mother. So we, who were here before the white man, were alike in our respect for the earth. But in other things, we were as unalike as the cedars of the Tlingit land were to the mesquite of the Navajo. And it is misleading to think of us as one. One. For example, how did we say one?
Wanjita,
The Dakota,
Kafa,
the Choctaw,
Azko,
the Pawnee,
Bajik,
Ojibwa,
Pank,
the Cree,
Junkura,
the Winnebago,
Sogwo,
the Cherokee,
Uguito,
and that was my brother, the Mohegan. So you see, we did not talk with each other a great deal. But for our purposes here, we first Americans will miraculously speak in English. And what will we tell in our miraculous English?
For us, inland from the sea, our lives ride on the backs of the great caribou, but even more, on the backs of our dogs.
The first arc of the circle. Snow, ice, eagles, whales.
The stars tell us the things of greatest importance. When the caribou will move our way, when the fish will grow thick in the inlet, when the days of darkness are coming, and then, finally, when the ice will crack and shift and let the spring and the light through to us once again.
Look directly above and you will see the great caribou. See, there is his head, and those stars there are his forelegs.
Those stars there are Nanook the bear and the hunting dogs.
And those 3 stars there, in a line on the edge of the sky, those are the steps cut into the great snowbank, up into the world of the sky.
Oh, in the summer we are busy enough. But in the long winter periods, well, we wait. Through the long, dark days, we wait. Sometimes we sit motionless by the side of a blowhole in the ice and wait for the dark shadow of a fish or the head of a seal. There in the cold, dark stretch of the ice, we wait and watch strange creatures and ghosts form on the edge of the dim gray horizon and then slip away again.
You must learn to flake a stone to fashion a knife.
You must learn to lie still on the ice.
You must learn to imitate the animals. The walrus, the white goose, the bear.
Not many of us travel together across this white land. In our group, for example, we have 94. 4 children born to us this year. When the terrible time overtook us 3 winters ago, we lost 2 children, and an old man, and my own mother, very old. We had no food, you see, and the little ones and the old ones had to be left on the ice floe to find death. When we left them, the little ones cried, though I saw my mother try to comfort them and keep them quiet. She stood holding the little boy, though he was too heavy for her and she so weak. She stood holding him with her back to us as we left them, so that we should not grieve more than necessary. But the little ones still cried, and we could hear them for a long while. And even when we were too far away to hear them anymore, we heard them. But now they live beneath the earth in fine, warm houses filled with rich furs and plenty of meat to eat. And they help us. They send animals to us across the snow. They sent many seals to us this year. And so we have 4 new children, and all have enough to eat.
Another arc in the circle. Rain, wolves, owls, sea.
My people do not live in the deep white land. We live south, here along the sea, where we have halibut and salmon and clams. In the woods, not far from the sea, we find the black bear and the grizzly, fox and wolves and squirrels, muskrats. The sea and the woods are full of creatures, and we are rarely hungry. Beaver, lynx, ermine.
Yes, we call ourselves Tlingit. It means the people. What else should we call ourselves?
This bowl. Oh, you've seen it every day of your short life, little one. But look at it with new eyes, so that you will know it when I'm gone. The wood from a tree your grandfather felled and carved. A beaver lying on his back, with bits of shell of the abalone inlaid here around the rim and used for eyes. Abalone brought from under the sea by your grandfather, too, when he was the finest diver of all the fine young men of our people. You remember how we carried his old body to the pyre and the flames. But I remember how he stood, young, on the rock by the sea, and dove like a pointed stone into the green water, and came up laughing, his black hair tossing spray as he shook like any young animal coming from the water. and he held an abalone shell out to me. Remember, little one, old creatures have all been young once, and most young creatures will be old.
Those small islands off the coast, the stories say that those are the pebbles that Raven carried in his beak. When he tired in flight, he would simply drop a pebble, and as it splashed into the sea below, it became an island, and he could alight and rest. That was the time Raven was on his way to the head of the river to trick the great chief who held the moon captive in a carved box. It was always dark here, of course, before that. Raven does play tricks. He does make fools of men. But then he gave us life, and perhaps it is the same thing in the end.
Now hold the bowl of seal oil. Mix in this berry juice. Yes, that looks just about right. A nice deep red. Should I help you apply it? Spread it well over your cheeks.
My cousin says it makes me very pretty.
Well, at least it keeps off the bugs.
First salmon from the river, freed from the blue ice. First salmon from the river. You bring us word that the world is renewed. First salmon from the river. I hold you to the 4 directions to ask the Great Spirit that for another season all things may be plentiful. And as you are passed among us and ceremonially eaten, we show that we respect the salmon spirits. And when your bones are burned and free again, first salmon from the river, find your way back to the village of the salmon people and become whole again for another turning of the seasons.
Another arc. Forests, rivers, lakes, elk, birds.
My people live far from the sea, through the forests, and some beside the quiet blue waters of the lakes. Our winters are long. The snow is high, sometimes too high for us to follow the deer, and then we must find what we can here, bound to the edge of the river. We break through the ice to reach the fish. We hunt for bear that might be sleeping. We invade the homes of the beavers, but often we are hungry. And when our pemmican runs low and our stomachs tighten, we watch the stars and listen to the winds most carefully for signs of the warm season coming. And when it does come, and we are unlocked and range again through the forests, how full of life the world seems.
The old people, those that have gone before, are always near.
But what do you mean he has no totem? All men must have a totem. All men belong somewhere to some spirit. I am of the clan of the White-Headed Eagle. If one conceals his totem, if he omits the sign of his spirit in his picture writing or on his ceremonial dress, that simply means he's concealing his allegiance. And there's only one possible conclusion to be drawn. He is an enemy.
Sage, rocks, roots, piñon nuts.
Here in the dry western basin, when the grass is gone and the wild grain can't be found, then a snake, mouse, even a grasshopper tastes fine to me.
He was the aggressor in the fight. It was he, not Midu, who started the thing. And he lost, so it is he who must leave. You will harden your heart, child, for there is no other way. You will accept that you will never see him again.
This crooked stick, polished smooth by handling many seasons, it is good to me. Look past the salt shimmer there to the mesquite. You see him? A jackrabbit running there, good-sized, but not so big he's old and tough. Watch now. Now, if he just sticks to his course. There! Brought him down. Hurry, he may just be stunned.
Another arc in the circle. Grass. Buffalo.
We of the plains followed the buffalo this summer as last summer, and all the summers before that, moving our skin tents across the grasslands after our shaggy friends. But then, when the warm prairie breeze against our faces turned cool, we drifted back here to our village beside the river, where our gardens of corn and beans and our fruit trees stand. The buffalo skin cloaks were shaken out, the ashes sifted, the cracks in the sod of our earth houses patched and sealed. And now we sit by the fire, chipping our arrowheads, with a warm smell of roasting venison and smoked fish and friendship. And our women sit here and embroider, while Aruk tells the little ones the old stories, and we all listen.
The spiders began to bear many kinds of creatures and a race of giants. Now Nesaru was not pleased, for the giants were rude and rough and would not obey him. So he created corn, and the animals took it under the earth, where the kernels became a race of people like ourselves. Nesaru sent a great flood to destroy all the giants, but of course the flood didn't harm the people, for they were still beneath the earth. They grew in their dark place, and finally Nesaru decided it was time for them to come out. So he sent Corn Mother to help them. Thunder thrust her below the ground, and the people and animals gathered about her, and they began to dig their way to the surface. First, Badger dug, but he stopped long before they reached the surface. Mole dug next, but as the earth cracked open, the first rays of light blinded him, and he stayed below. Finally, Mouse, who had a very long, sharp snout, broke through, but the light cut off his snout. Then Corn Mother thrust up through the earth into the light, but the earth was tight around her shoulders, and then, crack! Thunder shook the earth loose, and Corn Mother and all the people and animals could come up into the light and walk upon the earth.
When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the morning light. Give thanks for your life and strength. Give thanks for your food, and give thanks for the joy of living. And if perchance you see no reason for giving thanks, rest assured the fault is in yourself.
Another arc in the circle. Sand. Sun.
Between the sands and the grasslands, we pursue the antelope, making our shelters of bushes and grass as they are needed, then moving on. When our packs are full, we are glad to return home to our hogans and rest there. It is told that once our people had many fine fields, and the corn waved luxuriously, and green and yellow filled the land. But now the sand draws over, and the game grows scarce, and the ways of our ancestors blow away like the sand.
Death is necessary to make the sun move. Coyote has said that every day a Navajo must die. Or, to say it another way, my friend, death is the price of life.
Hey ne ya hey hey ne ya hey hey ya hey ya hey ne hey ne ya hey ne ya hey hey ya hey ya hey ne Lise sone hey nai lo songo do ta songo hey ne Lise sone hey nai lo songo do ta songo hey ne Hey ne ya hey hey ne ya hey hey ya hey ya hey ne hey ne ya hey hey ne ya hey hey ya hey ya hey ne.
Another ark. Adobe, corn, eagles.
Once our land was green and fertile, but the long dryness came and shriveled the plants, blew the stalks away. The earth itself grew brittle, and our life became as fleeting as the sand. Still we planted and tended and carefully stored reserves in our baskets and pots against the coming of bad times. But even then, even when we were no longer powerful and our thighs were thin, the people from the prairie came to our village and carried away what little we had. So we came here, to this mesa, and we live here on top, in sight of all, in reach of none.
Wait, O Mooney, wait for the men. Just because we saw no danger yesterday.
Our cultivated fields are an hour's walk from here, down below near the waterhole. The prairie people have been seen recently, so our warriors accompany the women as they go to cultivate the fields. We are a peaceful people, and only want to live our quiet lives.
Another arc in the circle. Trees, rivers, lakes, fish, beaver.
My people know nothing of the mesas. Our land is the land of trees, and we know them for friends. The chestnut and the hickory and the oak. We are accustomed to shadows and the rich land of these woodlands full of game, and the lakes full of bass and trout and whitefish.
Thunder was one of the 7 brothers, and they all loved him, you know. He was big and playful and full of kindness. When he came around, they all knew that soon there would be, well, a warmer feeling in the air. But of course he was clumsy, that unfortunate habit of his of breaking everything in sight.
Corn? But which kind? You can't just say corn. We raise 15 different varieties, after all.
What more could we of the Nyack need? In our longhouses, large enough for us all, by each fire is a pot, a calabash, a spoon, and there is a basket for the corn and a basket for the beans. Then each carries his knife. What more could we need?
The festival. Before the snow is gone, when the sap first rises in the maple tree.
And then the festival of planting corn.
The festival of the first strawberries, when it is warm and the sun stays long in the sky each day.
Then the green corn ceremony.
And then the harvest.
When the nights turn cold, the white dog ceremony. And then the snow comes.
And then, before the snow is gone, when the sap first rises in the maple tree.
Arcs in the circle. Many tribes and many ways of life, but alike in the way in which we lived in harmony with all that was around us. Surely none of us ate what we didn't need, even when there was great abundance in the woods or the sea or the plains. And we didn't kill what we were not going to eat. So you see, we were not like the people who followed your Christopher Columbus here. As different as we all were, we were not like you. We respected the creatures, we respected each other, and we respected our mother, the earth.
This has been another program in the series Our Nation's Heritage, produced and presented as a public service by Standard Oil Company of Texas.
And what's more, we didn't have none of your fancy computers and your propulsion fuel and your tubes of food, but we set off just the same.
William! William! Where have you got to?
Oh, go away, you Mediterranean baboon.
What are you doing there, William? Standing on an empty wharf in the middle of the night, shouting at the moon.
I am not shouting at the moon at all. I'm talking to them that's on it. Them well-behaved little robots in their rubber suits.
And what are you telling them?
That we didn't need no control centers and countdowns and all them fancy gadgets. And everyone all over the world knowing exactly what we was doing every minute of the time.
Well, they cannot hear you. So come back in and I will share a pint with you and we will talk about the old times.
I'm that sick of your talk. Jabbering about your Newfoundland and your Nantucket and your Hudson's River and all that.
William, I will argue gladly, but I will not stand out here in this cold and in this 20th century. It is entirely disturbing. Come, let us take our ghost selves back into our ghost tavern and enjoy our cozy 16th century. Then you can say all these unpleasant things to me. Black Tony and Zeno are waiting for us.
I'm not going back in there.
Oh, come along.
There's entirely too many Oscars in there.
Oscars?
You know, asking us this and asking us that. Why an Italian like Caboto sailed for England, and what Francis Drake was looking for in the Pacific, and things like that. Yeah, and you know, sometimes they act as they think I'm lying.
And aren't you?
Of course. What's that got to do with it? I just don't like these little fellers that never so much as crossed a mill pond, pretending to know what's real and what's not.
That Battlesby in there...
He's the worst of 'em all. Why, he's even writing it all down. Him with all them papers crackling about, and ink spattering in the ale, and his nasty little sand getting in the stew.
But he, for one, believes your lies, William.
Aye, that's true enough. Yeah, but no. Like I was telling you, I'm tired of lying. I've been too ingratiating altogether, too entertaining. From now on, it's nothing but the dull, sober truth out of old Willem's mouth.
My dear William, I do not believe you. There is a certain skill required to tell the truth, and I fear you have just not had the training for it. Look, my friend, I am very thirsty, and I am getting chilled out here.
Aye, all right, you old crack. We'll go back in and face that silly Battlesby fella together. But mind, if he don't keep a mug going in front of me, it's out here again I come.
He will. He will.
time you got back. Zeno and me were running out of words for this old scribbler.
Sir. Yeah, have some respect for the educated. Our Mr. Battleship is a proper scholar.
Battlesby. My name is Mr. Battlesby.
Hello there, William. You want a fresh pint now, laddie?
Yes, girl. Do bring some ale for them both. I have the coin. Well, William, I'm most happy to see you've returned. Your precipitous exit...
me what?
Well, when you left so abruptly there, I was asking you when the, let me see here. Yes, I was asking you when you first had occasion to work with a top-gallant sail.
Top-gallant sail? What a blade... Oh! You mean it's a gallant? Why don't you learn how to talk right?
But it's spelled T-O-P-G-A-L-L-A-N-T.
Aye, it's spelled.
Here you are, love.
Thank you, girl. Well, you see, we poor benighted seamen, we never knew how to spell at all. We just knew how to get our meaning across. Gallant sail. Can you beat it?
Yes. Well, of course, you realize we must get all this down as accurately as possible.
No, I don't.
Why, surely. You see how important this historical record is for posterity.
Why is it important?
Well, the libraries, of course, and the archives. I mean, the students of the future.
Oh, yes, of course. I understand right enough. I'll tell you all I know, William. Now, did I ever tell you about them cannibals in the Caribbean?
Oh, my.
Had regular drying racks with pieces of human beings curing there for their winter provisioning.
Oh.
An arm here, a leg there, maybe a couple of ribs for special occasions, don't you know?
Oh, how perfectly ghastly.
Yeah, well, or maybe you'd like to hear about the little men we come on one day with their faces right in the middle of their bellies. Oh. Yeah, made that way, healthy as you or me. Made a nice smooth place on their shoulders. Though not much of a place to set a hat on, you know. Or the unicorns I seen one day prancing along the beach.
William.
Brought back a chest full of horns. Unicorn horns has amazing properties, you know.
Just let me get this down. Unicorn horns.
William.
Sold 'em for pretty penny. Bought me many pints with them unicorn horns.
William, I thought you were tired of being entertaining.
Oh, I did sell them, you know, Moko. I sold a whole bloody chest.
Yes, and they were narwhal tusks. That is what they were. And you know it very well.
Well, unicorn horns, narwhal tusks. What's the difference, Besides, Moko, what's true and what's not? That ain't always so easy to say. Remember the old sailors talking of Satan's hand? La Mansa Tanaxio, they called it. Rising up from the sea every day, a giant black hand, it were, and it would snatch at a ship and draw it down deep into the sea. Now, men say that's no more than a myth. But every shoal or reef that took a crew and flung it to the sea ain't nothing but a La Mansa Tanaxio. Me mug's empty.
So shoals and reefs were a major danger?
Me mug's empty.
Yes, very well. Another pint here, miss?
2. 3 pints.
Make it 4.
4 pints, miss. Now, you were talking about shoals and reefs?
Aye, in the Caribbean were coral reefs. You never knew when they'd slice a hull like a piece of cheese.
But there was nothing as dangerous as the Nantucket shoals.
Aye, what do you mean, you salt-soaked old parrot? Ain't nothing worse than coral.
Here you are, boys.
Aye, Which of us ain't seen the wind and the sea between 'em toss a ship of 200-ton burden, toss it around like a leaf on a pond, and yourself, poor miserable little creature, clinging like an ant on that leaf? Still, they was good ships then.
And I sailed them all. Galley, carrack, pinnace, flute.
Wait. Galley, you say? Mm-hmm. Now, this would come under ships. Ships. Carrack, pinnace, flute. I don't think I have them all straight.
Well, it don't matter. Whatever she was always just a creaky little hull. Ain't it right, boys? The whole world dwindled to that pile of boards floating on a roiling sea, and only it twixt you and a most unpleasant death.
Well, and how did you set your course?
Luck and spit in the wind.
In the early days, of course, we did not really know what was out there or where we were going. We had some information from the ancients, but nothing very trustworthy, even about the seas close at hand. Listen.
And in the sea to the east, the dolphins are so agile they leap the mainsail of your ship. And then on the land are men with hooves and men with ears so long at night they use them for blankets. Along the Niger River, the ants are as big as dogs.
What awful liars. Did you ever hear anything to equal it?
Yes, as a matter of fact. I remember that afternoon you told those girls in Bristol...
Never mind now. Anyway, the ancients didn't have anything helpful to say about the great sea of darkness we were crossing. Or what was on the other side. What we'd find sailing off like that. Homer, now. He thought the world was flat.
Yes, I'm familiar with this old controversy. You know, Pythagoras thought the world was probably round, and Aristotle knew for sure.
Did he know?
Yes, and in Alexandria, when Egypt flourished, they had globes of the world made of silver and gold and glass. Remarkable workmanship.
Well, nothing much on them, I warrant. That come in our time. When we started out, we still didn't really know the shape of things and how they fit together. There we were, spun off into the sea, guided by the stars and the sun, and what we'd heard, and rumors and hopes, and a vague sense we was headed right.
And so you sailed around and filled up the charts?
Oh, no. It was no simple thing. We didn't sail up to some coast and say, now here's a large island with so many inlets and so many hills. We weren't in no bloody aeroplane, you know. What did we see? A beach, say, with some trees along it. Of a kind that maybe we'd never seen before. There ain't nothing moving. The afternoon's that still. Just the sound of the little waves a-lapping on the shore. And then maybe a bird come alive of a sudden and fly crying out of the trees. And then it's still again. Well, you can see that there wouldn't be too much you'd know about the shape of the land until you'd gone around a good bit. What might look like an island could turn out to be a whole bloody continent. No. The filling in came gradual.
Well, it took you a long time to trace the coastline then.
More than 100 years.
Aye, it came gradual, and often enough what we learned, we kept to ourselves.
We, sailors and secrets, they go so naturally together.
Aye, like we were saying out there on the wharf, Moko. What we needed in them days was a fair wind, a stout hull, and an astrolabe and a chart or two. But the most important thing of all was the will. The will to sail.
Yes, it was this, was it not, that is the hunger and the aching hands In the age of that bleak loneliness, it was only our will to go that muted our fear.
And it wasn't a will of iron, no. It was a will of gold.
When I discovered the Indies, I said they were the world's wealthiest realm. I spoke of gold, pearls, precious stones, spices, and of the markets and fairs. But because not everything turned up at once, I was vilified. Most excellent gold. Who has gold has a treasure with which he gets what he wants, imposes his will on the world, and even helps souls to paradise.
Who was that? The mad old admiral of the ocean sea, old Christopher Columbus.
Oh, they were all a little mad. But so were we, William, do not forget. Every one of us was dreaming of a golden landfall somewhere.
Aye, we all had our dreams. But their dreams turned the ship this way and that. Mostly dreams of gold and spices.
There were other dreams as well. Do you remember that funny, bandy-legged little Spaniard wandering around the peninsula all those years? Now, he had a most unusual dream.
But you heard them too, Raphael. The stories of the spring. It does not do to scoff at the words of these Indians. Savages they may be, but I tell you they know many things we do not. The spring that restores youth to those grown older. Well, that's no more remarkable than those poultices they use to quench the fever, is it? No. I believe in the spring of eternal youth. I believe still, even though now I am wounded, so badly wounded. And so, perhaps, I found the fountain of youth, but too late. Death is eternal youth, after all. Is it not, my friend? But only if you find it when you are young.
And who was that?
What was his name? He was governor of Hispaniola and went hunting in Puerto Rico and all that.
Ponce de Leon.
Ah, oui, Juan Ponce de Leon.
Well, we were all chasing a dream. Every scurvy, ragged, salt-pickled one of us. Swarming off every wharf from Genoa to Southampton. Like so many two-legged rats.
But why? I mean, you talk of hunger and aching hands and loneliness. If life was so hard on the ships...
Well, why not? What did we have to leave behind? For most of us, a sewer-soaked alley in some seaport. Gold was the one key that might unlock us from our cage of weariness, that might let us grow old and fat, eating oranges.
I see.
Socio-economic conditions. These trips were lucrative, I take it?
Lucrative?
They paid you well.
Oh, aye. Yeah, many's the time my pockets fair bulged with gold. Why, I once had a diamond big as my fist.
William?
Well, big as my thumbnail anyway.
You never saw a diamond in all your life. None of us did. A little gold now and then, some pearls. And sometimes we did find spices. Cinnamon, ginger, cloves.
Yes, when we finally reached Cathay, with Magellan, you know. We found cloves and sent home 26 tons of them. Of course, old Magellan himself, he never made it. Killed out there, fighting with the Mactan heathen, halfway around the world from home. Well, none of us shed a tear. He was a scum-fed old sea dog, if ever there was one.
Well, are you speaking of the great Ferdinand Magellan? Why, he was an aristocrat.
Now, he may have been an aristocrat in Portugal, but 20 miles offshore, he was a briny brute and no mistake.
He could not have been worse than that maggot-souled Henry Hudson, my late captain. Many's the night I lay flicking my thumb across the blade of my knife, wondering how to get it to his throat. He'd got us locked up, you see, in the thickening ice in that nightmare bay. The winter there, it does not bear remembering. No, they say hell is full of fire, but I know it must be full of ice. And then, when spring finally came to us, and those of us left thought miraculously we might see home again after all, why, he said we were to go on. A madman. Well, that was long ago. Now I can but dimly remember the day we forced them into that little open boat and set them adrift among the ice floes.
You mean you left them there? You left them there to die? Oh, the authorities should hear of this.
Oh, they have. They have, and they knew very well what we had done. But you see, we knew so much that no one else knew. We were not expendable.
Let me get this down. H-U-D-S-O.
Yes, I suppose posterity will know well enough how to spell his name.
Well, and why not? Whatever you say, his was a glorious achievement.
Yes, they will be able to look him up in some book and see how glorious was his achievement.
But you cannot detract. I mean, his was a glorious...
My dear Ernest Scribbler, what of Zeno and William and Black Tony and 1,000 men who dared as much as he, who cast upon those strange green waters the one ultimate thing, their lives? Where are our names in your books? I do not see them. Vespucci, he discovered this and that, they say, and so his name it is written large across 2 continents. But what of the men who shared his exact peril? Their names are nowhere.
Oh, but I say, we can't record all the common, the ordinary. Well, there's no room.
Well, never mind, boys. What is there to tell him about us, anyway? Our names aren't important. And often enough they weren't the ones our mothers gave us, truth be told. Our names aren't important. And what else is there to tell about us that anyone would understand? We sailed and we suffered, longing for a sign of land.
A land-based bird, maybe.
Or the change on the color of the water, or perhaps the smell of trees.
Aye, so we beached on strange shores. And then, when we finally did come home, baked out and soaked through both, well, no one really knew what we knew. Aye, nothing about us ever seemed quite like other folks, did it? Not our fingers from the hanging on, nor our skins from the wind, nor yet our eyes from the longing, and staring out at that horizon.
Staring out at that horizon.
No, Battleston.
Battlesby.
No, whatever your name is. You can draw your little diagrams, O'Regan, and list ship's stars and take down longitudes and latitudes till the blue-tailed whale swims backwards. But there ain't no way for you to put down on your paper the longing and the staring. Come along, boys. Drink up! Let's go take a little walk.
A little fresh air might do us good at that.
I'll tell you what we will do. We'll go and wave at our brothers on the moon there.
This has been another program in the series Our Nation's Heritage, produced and presented as a public service by Standard Oil Company of Texas.